On purpose or by accident, you've stumbled into the one-shot review series. Here we will take a look at various tabletop RPG settings and systems from the entry-level perspective. I have ran or played each of these games for a single story, run over the course of 1 or 2 sessions. These videos are intended to convey our experience with these games and give you an idea of what you might expect if you decide to dive in too. As with any setting and any system, remember that it's entirely possible that we misunderstood some things. I explained the rules and concepts as we understood them over a few days of preparation. Please be kind. Getting it all correct is not the point. If we got it wrong, that means it's a potential stepfall you'll know to look for when you decide to run it yourself. And that is the point. Here goes. Shadows by Firelight. One-shot review. The Witcher. Overview. The Witcher is a Talsorian Games tabletop RPG. The same folks who recently did Cyberpunk Red, the new edition of the Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop RPG. It was designed by Lisa and Cody Pondsmith. And before you even ask, hell yeah, it's a blast to play. This adaptation is based on the video game series of the same name, themselves based on a series of novels. It's fittingly jam-packed with strategic options that are simple to use and easy to explain to players. My only real issue with the book is how the information is presented. Experience will easily fix this problem. With use, players and storytellers will remember where all the parts are, or home rule a few shortcuts. Which happens with pretty much any tabletop RPGs anyway. But for newcomers, finding all you need to play is a bit of a challenge. For example, as an alchemist, you frequently need to refer to your basic crafter class information in the beginning of the book, your skill trees in the level up section, the alchemy items description in the middle of the gear section, the status effect charts at the end of the combat section, and the alchemy formula in the crafting section. If you'd prefer to avoid such headaches, aim to play a man-at-arms, a criminal, a merchant, or a bard. There's plenty of fun to be had with those, and you won't need quite as many systems to look up. Again, though, it's really worth doing the groundwork. All of those parts combine together to make it feel like you and your friends are walking around the world of The Witcher. Sure enough, the Nilfgaardians are at it again, hanging unfortunates on trees, and necrophages are drawn by the ravages of the war. Poor villagers are forced to fight drowners over a chance for a bit of water. Things aren't going too well. So there's plenty of coin to be made for those ready to risk life and limb against the things roaming outside the city walls. For those who do, the odds are stacked against them, especially if they can't afford silver weapons. But careful preparations and a bit of luck can tip those scales significantly. Victory means coins, and coins mean a warm meal and maybe even a bath. Setting. If you've no idea what The Witcher is, you may want to start by fixing that. It's an amazing setting, but you might struggle to understand why it's amazing if this is your starting point. The book gives a good overview of the history of the world and the various factions, but that isn't enough to sell the greatness of The Witcher's world. On its own, that might come off as a generic dark fantasy setting with a different set of monsters. I think it might be because it can't afford the page count to retell all the legends and stories of this fascinating universe. But it doesn't need to. That's what the novels are for. That's what the games are for. That's what the TV show is for. This book is about telling you how to take all of those stories and make your own. And it does a damn fine job at it. If you have the time for the video games, those would be the best introductions for several reasons. First, they're all very, very good, especially the third one. Second, they can be played individually. You don't need to have played the first two before diving into the third, for example. It helps to play in order, sure, but the games will catch you up on what you need to know. As for the novels, unfortunately I can't really comment on them because I've only read one. Even so, the tabletop RPG is based on the video games, and slight differences do exist between the two. If you don't have time for either of those, the Netflix show is fantastic fun. It'll run you through the basics, albeit by taking some liberties along the way. Once you're sold, once you know the flavor of the world and are curious to get into the details and the nitty-gritty, then the book becomes a great way to fill in the gaps in your knowledge and answer most questions you might have. The long and short of it is this. Long ago, an event called the Conjunction of the Spheres happened, and all the universes collided for a while before it all returned to normal. But things stayed behind. Creatures, monsters, magic. No one knew how to fight the monsters, so some took it on themselves to become ones, or as close as one can. They are known as Witchers, or mutants, or freaks. But for the right price, yes, they will kill that Kikamor for you. Geralt of Rivia is the main character of the Witcher series. That's true of the books, the games, and the TV show. Geralt also has a lot of friends and companions, and friends with benefits. All of these character archetypes introduced by these companions, mages, bards, merchants, and many more, form the basis of the 9 classes you can play in the game, including Witchers, of course. Storytelling. Whether it's that time Geralt met a person cursed into the shape of a monster for a strange reenactment of Beauty and the Beast involving vampires and, well, more than one beauty, or that time a bard tagged along at the edge of the world to find out what manner of creature was tricking the local peasants, or that time a spellbinding sorceress tried to show a djinn who's boss. The tales of The Witcher tend to set the stage around some manner of supernatural problem to be investigated, and then they throw an unexpected twist. Here, monsters aren't just there to be slaughtered because they're on the way to some treasure in a dungeon. The monster is the story, at least until the truth comes out and the situation turns into something else entirely. It seems complex, but I found that stories practically write themselves. The book comes with a bunch of curses, rituals, spells, and monsters. Just pick one as the hook. Oi, Mr. Witcher! We've some wraiths for sure. Would you please take them down so we can finally go back to our villa? And then, start asking questions. Why is there a wraith there? How long has it been there? Who killed it? Why? Keep asking questions, and before you know it, you'll have your twist. Maybe the person who hired you never even lived in the villa. Maybe they just want something hidden inside, but they're too afraid of the thing that does live there. Even better if you can tie in the backstory of one of your players. System. The core system seems intimidating at first, but it's actually very simple and easy to use, providing a strong backbone to support the game's other subsystems. Let's review the basics. You have 9 stats: intelligence, reflex, dex, body, speed, empathy, craft, willpower, and luck. Each of those, except luck, are associated with several skills. For example, the skill swordsmanship falls under the stat reflex. Anytime a character attempts something, whether that's crafting a sword or turning a drowner into a shish kebab, simply roll a d10, then add the values of the relevant skill and the stat it's tied to. So if you're looking to forage crafting materials as you stroll through a forest, you would determine the total of the character's skill called Wilderness Survival, plus their stat Intelligence, and add a 10-sided die. If the result is above the difficulty of what you're trying to achieve, you did it. Simple and efficient. Helpfully, the book is filled with tables giving you difficulty ratings for all sorts of activities, including gathering things, hitting things, crafting things, casting things, and speaking to things. People. If what you're trying to do isn't in one of those handy charts, the storyteller can just refer to the general difficulty chart and gauge from there. Beyond that, stats are also used to determine the derived statistics, like HP, focus for spellcasting, how fast you run, that kind of thing. The most important of which is stamina, which you spend to act out of turn, straining yourself to get one more extra action in before your turn ends, or to use defensive actions throughout the fight. In combat, things get interesting, but they remain accessible. You roll to attack, and they roll to defend, and vice versa. There's a lot of strategic options for both sides of that equation, all of which slightly increases or lowers the result of the roll in a way that makes sense. Do you have a numerical advantage? For example, is there more of you than there are of them? Well, great. That lowers all of the enemy's defensive rolls. Did you flank? Great. You get +3 to your roll. Is the enemy stuck wading through mud? Well, you got it. They have a harder time with their defensive rolls. It's fairly simple to keep track of because all of those combat charts are in the same spot in the combat section. Just look up how you're trying to gain the upper end and add it to your roll. That last part is literally critical. If you beat your opponent's roll with big enough numbers, you manage to deal a critical blow. Right off the bat, this increases your damage, and it also inflicts several possible status effects as determined by one of the 4 critical charts: simple criticals, complex criticals, difficult criticals, and deadly criticals. For example, if you really stack the odds in your favor, or you're just that much of a stronger fighter than your opponent, and you rolled 15 or above your enemy's defensive action, then you get to roll on the deadly critical chart. Real fun things happen on that chart. You have a chance to decapitate your foe right then, no matter how much damage you dealt. You damage their eye, cause heart damage, inflict septic shock, or dismember them. Or they get to do that to you if the situation is reversed. In play, that means it's vital to keep the odds in your favor. But even then, victory is never assured. In the game I ran, 3 players were taking on the last 2 drowners. They'd already killed 5 with remarkable ease thanks to great planning. My players did not have a Witcher with them, or silver weapons. The party consisted of a man-at-arm, a crafter, and a doctor. They took no chances and gave no quarters. They were doing great, and all of them had a role to play in a fight, even the non-fighters. They all relied on each other to live. But then, their man-at-arm botched a defensive action, and then immediately proceeded to botch another one. Within seconds, the situation changed from walk in the park to, oh god, the only fighter we have has heart damage and is suffering from septic shock. Now, in a different game, a different system, or a different setting, this could have been seen as a problem, but not here. My players were scared for their lives, and they were enjoying it. They were regular mortals taking on monsters in the Witcher universe. Of course something would go wrong. Despite the sudden shift, they didn't feel cheated. They didn't feel like the game was rigged. Their man-at-arm had lost focus for a critical second in a savage battle to the death and had paid the price. And the rest of the group were next. It made complete sense, it felt real, they were hooked. And in the end, they improvised, they kept their cool, and they prevailed. All three of them survived. Now, having said all of that, remember when I said the system was simple to use? Well, this is where that stops being true. For all that the critical system does really well, the status effect system attached to it can get messy system-wise. For example, septic shock causes the victim's stamina to be divided by 4, and intelligence, willpower, reflex, and dex are all reduced by 3. Oh, and you're also poisoned. It makes sense, but that's a lot to handle in the middle of a round, especially when you consider that each of these status effects have 3 levels of gravity, which can change during the fight if you have a doctor trying to patch you up and send you back into the fray. It's fantastic on paper, but it's problematic at the table. We were unprepared for how complex this was, but luckily our character sheets were in Excel files, so most of the math was done for us. Without this, I imagine we would have bogged down significantly. Now that I'm aware of this, should I run the game again, I would either home rule this section to simplify it or redesign the character sheets to accommodate. Your mileage may vary on that one, and you may find your own solutions, of course. Conclusion. All in all, that was an extremely fun time. All of my players said they were willing to do other one-shots with those characters in the future, and all agreed the system and the setting rocked. Personally, I'm already thinking of my next story. If you love The Witcher, or want to try a new take on a strategic system, then there's something really solid to work with here. Just bear in mind that there's going to be some groundwork to be done first. You'll need to read it thoroughly to figure out where all the parts are and how they fit. Once you've done that, you're pretty much set for guaranteed fun and adventure. These scars long have yearned for your tender caress, to bind our fortunes. Damn what the stars own. Rend my heart open, then your love profess. A winding, weaving fate to which we both atone. You flee, my dream come the morning. Your scent berries tart, lilac sweet. To dream of raven locks and twisted stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep. The wolf I will follow into the storm, to find your heart, its passion displaced by our ever-growing hardening into stone. Amidst a cold to hold you in a heated embrace. You flee, my dream come the morning. Your scent berries tart, lilac sweet. To dream of raven locks and twisted stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep. I know not if fate would have us live as one, or if by love's blind chance we've been bound. The wish I whispered when it all began, did it forge a love you might never have found. You flee, my dream come the morning. Your scent berries tart, lilac sweet. To dream of raven locks and twisted stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep.